Good evening, Americans, and welcome to the Ed Show tonight from New York. Breaking news this evening in the Trayvon Martin case. Video has surfaced from the night George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin. ABC News has obtained police surveillance video of George Zimmerman as he arrived at the police station after he was taken into custody. The video does not appear to show blood on the back of Zimmerman's head or nose. The video shows no bruises on the back of his head. Zimmerman had claimed Trayvon Martin punched him in the nose and slammed the back of his head into the ground. This police surveillance video shows Zimmerman arriving at the station in the police cruiser. As you can see, Zimmerman's head is clearly shaven. Keep in mind that in the initial police report, Officer Tim Smith said he could observe that his back appeared to be wet and was covered in grass as if he had been lying on his back on the ground. Zimmerman was also bleeding from the nose and the back of his head. The police report also said Zimmerman was attended to by medics at the scene of the crime. But as you can see, there are no bandages on Zimmerman in this police surveillance video. It's been 32 days since the shooting of Trayvon Martin. I am joined tonight by New York Times columnist Charles Blow and Daryl Parks, an attorney for the family of Trayvon Martin. This is big. Mr. Blow, what do you make of this videotape? You have gone over the police report.
Right.
You know it inside out.
Right.
Does this video match up from what you have seen right here?
It does not appear to match up with the description that is on the police report. And that is not the only problem that I see with the police report as it has been published. The police report includes, Jonathan Capehart pointed this out, includes Trayvon Martin's full name, date of birth, it is redacted street address and phone number. However, Trayvon Martin, and that report was filed and closed, according to the report, on the night, the February 27th at 3:07 in the morning. But the family says that Trayvon Martin's body was tagged as a John Doe. Both those things cannot be true. If you have all of his information, where he lives, his telephone number, he's not a John Doe. Now, the other thing, fishy part about that is that there's a part on the police report that says, is there a juvenile involved? If you know that he was born on February 5th, 1995, you know that he's 17 years old, that box should have been yes, it is no. I asked the family if they could verify, somebody else, independent of them, could verify whether or not he was listed as a John Doe, because the medical examiner's office would not do it. And the funeral parlor, it is Mazzell and Kurtz out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, said they could not pick up that body for 3 days because it was listed as a John Doe and had to be moved out of that.
So listed as a John Doe, but it's very clear that police officials knew exactly who Trayvon Martin was.
No, if he was listed as a John Doe, that suggests that that information was added after that police report was complete. And if information about Trayvon Martin was added or adjusted after that police report was completed, that throws into question every single thing that is on that police report and what is original to that night and what may have been added later or adjusted.
All right.
That is the question now.
All right, let's look at this videotape, and I want you to look at the screen there. Timothy Smith was the officer that said this: while I was in such close contact with Zimmerman, I could observe that his back appeared to be wet and he was covered in grass as if he had been lying on his back on the ground. Zimmerman was also bleeding from the nose and the back of his head. Now, obviously, he had seen medics. He had been attended to, but there is no bandage there, which you can draw your own conclusion. But the videotape does not show, I guess you could say, a broken nose. Do you think it does?
It doesn't show it to me, and I think these are now the questions that have to be answered in a pressing fashion. Can we make this video line up with this police report, and is this police report the original report in all of its entirety that was filed that night, or has anything been changed, adjusted, or added in relation to this police report?
Let's go to the attorney for the family, one of the attorneys for the family, Daryl Parks. Mr. Parks, the state attorney says she might have a decision before the grand jury is convened. What have you heard? And first of all, I want to get your impressions of this videotape that has been released tonight.
It's very clear as you see Mr. Zimmerman get out of the police cruiser. I mean, look at the courtesy that they give him. He gently gets out. They talk like old friends. They gently search him. I mean, they're not pressed about this guy. But focus. I think you focus on the back. He has nothing on his back, nothing on his head. He doesn't appear to be hurt. From what we've heard recently, they said they bashed his head in. He was being beaten down where he feared for his life. I mean, does this look like a guy who was just beaten down within the last hour or so? No, he doesn't.
Now, you've read the police report, I'm sure. Match that up with what you're seeing in this videotape.
It doesn't match. I mean, you don't see the damages to him that they claim. And so it really draws into question all the things that's in that report right now, and that's why we're calling for a thorough investigation.
Well, last night on this program, Mr. Parks, you alleged witness tampering in this case. Can you please explain exactly what you meant by that?
Well, there are at least one or two witnesses who indicated, one specifically indicated that one of the investigators was talking to them, turned the recorder off, talked to them some, then turned the recorder on. And so
para siempre. Culturas milenarias sagradas.
He doesn't have anything on his back. It's rather clear. And so when you look at his head, doesn't appear to be any blood on the back of his head. They claim that his head has been beaten in. I mean, look at it. It's clean. There's nothing there. Nothing whatsoever. So that's a problem. That's a problem, and it clearly shows that the officers that assisted him on that night, I mean, look, they are standing there. I mean, y'all, have you ever seen a person who just killed someone who can just stand there on his own? We're going to casually walk into the station. It doesn't happen.
I have to say that I've never seen anyone who has been brought into a station before. This is the first time I've ever seen anybody brought into a station who has just shot and killed somebody. So this is new to me, unless I've seen some TV drama. I mean, it is rather casual. Charles Blow, what do you think?
I mean, I can't speak to the kind of casual nature. Like you said, I've never seen anybody who's killed anybody before. But there is no visible signs of any sort of flinching, any sort of pain, which is what you would expect for somebody with a broken nose. There is, as the attorney said before, you would expect some sort of swelling, some sort of bandaging, something if, as his attorney and his friend have been saying, that the wounds on the back of his head were so severe they should have required stitches, but they have healed on their own.
How does it change the dynamics of the case when the lead investigator wanted to bring charges, but was told by the state's attorney, stand down? We don't think we have enough for a conviction. What do you make of that?
I mean, I think that all folds into the ongoing investigation, because now we have to figure out from the state attorney general's office why that took place, and that's what we don't know. Did they feel like they needed to build even a stronger case? But he's still free. So I don't know what it is about that, but we don't know that yet.
Are there any times on this police report, Mr. Parks, that you take exception to? Are there any discrepancies that jump out at you on this police report, whether it be the timing or what's being reported?
Well, and no times come to mind. However, the times that we believe are very important in this case are the times that Trayvon was on the phone with his girlfriend when he was on the phone with her for about 4 minutes and was talking to her and describing that he was being chased by this vigilante, Zimmerman. As he got off the phone with her, the Sanford police was on the scene within 1 minute. So it's very clear to us that Trayvon's version of the story is supported by the phone records that we have put into the public domain.
And there seems to be a right-wing media campaign to defend George Zimmerman. What do you think's going on here?
Well, I want to believe, I believe in America. I believe in our government. I believe in the media and that process. I think that, unfortunately, the style of some people is to take some small piece of information and to declare that it has some type of value to the case in chief, when it doesn't. It has nothing to do what happened between Mr. Zimmerman and Trayvon on the night of February 26th. So we have to stay focused on what the facts are. Anyone who would bring any issue that has no bearing on the conduct between these two individuals on the night in question is not relevant.
And I want to go back to the listing of the deceased as a John Doe. What's your response to that?
Well, you know, there's no reason for that, because if he was a John Doe, why would they put his name on the report almost 5 hours later? Some type of way, either they knew within 5 hours that who he was, they should have told the parents, or they came and added this information after the fact and would beg into question the authenticity of this document.
And what kind of shaky legal ground would that put the police department in Sanford in? Some type of negligence?
Well, it raises all types of questions about, one, the professionalism of this particular organization and how they conduct their investigations.
Do you know when the police chief found out that there was a kid that had been shot and killed?
I really don't know.
So you don't know when the police chief found out? He may have engaged that night or the next day or the next morning.
Well, certainly, as normally protocol in this type of situation, I'm sure he was notified immediately of a murder within his jurisdiction.
But what reason would they have for listing the deceased as a John Doe when they clearly knew who he was?
Well, I really don't know. It's very hard to say, except for we now know that there was a close working relationship between George Zimmerman and this police department. It was rather clear.
And I want you to elaborate on that.
Well, a few things. Number one, one of the pieces of information that's out in the public domain that's being reported out today is that the Homeowners Association listed George Zimmerman as the captain of this particular neighborhood watch. So that existed. And it actually indicated that, you know, to the extent that if you couldn't reach the police department to notify George Zimmerman if there was some incident that needed to be reported to the police. So there was a pretty good close working relationship between the two.
And if you just joined us tonight here on The Ed Show, you're looking at video that was obtained by ABC News. This is video in the police house in Sanford, Florida, the night George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin. And it really raises as many questions as it does give answers. Charles Blow, Daryl Parks, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much. Coming up, more on the explosive new video in the Trayvon Martin case. We'll ask a retired police chief what he thinks of the video. We'll also bring in Reverend Jesse Jackson for his thoughts on tonight's developments. Stay with us.